Well, the first thing I want to address before anything is, apparently you're telling me that a lot of people are wondering, like, how you got me to do this.
Pretty much.
Because this is something I would never, ever do
Nope.
in a billion years. For any reason.
Nope.
I think it's basically because, I guess because you asked me to.
I appreciate that.
And it's the whole, for someone like me talking on camera to where it's post to all the scum of the internet to criticize is probably like the worst thing someone could ask me to do.
Okay.
But at the same time, you're asking me to just talk about movies,
Yeah.
which is the easiest thing for me to do. So there's like an even balance.
That makes sense.
Also, if I were to ever need anything from you, I will hold this over your head for the rest of your life.
Yeah, you have a lot of stuff already over my head, by the way.
Well, this is a big one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
You're asking me to put myself on the godforsaken internet every day of the week.
Yeah.
Well, not every week. Yes.
Well, as much as you want, really. If you want to be here every day, we can make that happen.
No.
I didn't think so. Sorry, popcasters.
Yes. Yeah, I hate the terminology too, but...
Really? It's not bad. Podcasters, popcasters, I think it works.
Well, I told you from the get-go when you told me the name of the thing, I was all, that's kind of lame.
Yeah.
But we'll go with it. So,
Reluctant popcaster.
Yes. Should we get started with Iron Man?
Indeed.
Alright. Well, it starts off in 1999. Oh, wait. Before we do that, let me just say, as far as the Marvel versus DC thing, like, that's like especially on the internet, it's an ongoing thing where, like, if you love Marvel, you hate DC, and if you love DC, you hate Marvel. And
Yeah.
all that.
I know someone that likes that.
Yeah. But the thing is that they're on this channel, too.
Yes, they are.
The thing is everybody's all, DC is dark and brooding and all that, like the Dark Knight movies and Watchmen and, to an extent, Superman. And then Marvel has, like, all the comedy and they're fighting aliens.
So it's much more comic book-like, much more unbelievable.
But I actually think it's really logical. The most logical thing you can do is love both, because Marvel has the humor and fun that, well, the Avengers has the humor and fun
Yeah.
that the Dark Knight doesn't have. And the Dark Knight has, like, I guess the really serious themes that the Avengers has serious themes in a way, but not to the extreme that the Dark Knight movies do.
Makes sense.
So, I'm just a fan of both of them, so...
Me too.
I'm not gonna say, like... I love Nolan's Batman movies, so the Avengers movies are, like, childish and stupid. Because that's not the case at all.
Nope.
Which is why I'm about to give you a pretty positive review of Iron Man 3, so... So it starts in 99, and they let you know of that immediately because they're playing that song. What is that band's name?
It's Eiffel 65. It's a one-hit wonder called Blue.
Yes.
Yes.
It's literally the very first thing. You see the Iron Man suits exploding, and then Downey does his Kiss Kiss Bang Bang shtick where he says, "Oh wait, let's go back and do this first." And it's that fucking song.
Yeah. I was kind of shocked when I heard it for the first time myself, because it's been forever since I've heard that song. Not since the 90s.
Yeah, but you heard it enough in the 90s to make up for the last 10 years.
Very, very true.
So they play with the whole, it being 1999 thing, like, Favreau is Happy Hogan, and he's got, like, the hair and the beard.
The most awesome bolo tie in the history of man.
And,
looks like Mr. Ernst from Hey Dude. Yeah. That's the vibe I got.
And, of course, they play with that because, you'll remember in the first Iron Man, Jensen, the guy he's in the cave with, that he's building the suit with, says, you know, we met once at a press conference in Bern, Switzerland. And sure enough, this movie starts in Bern, Switzerland, and he runs into Jensen and blows him off. And, of course, they have to have that little Jensen saying, perhaps another time, which, you know.
The old chestnut.
The thing is, the thing that bothered me, though, I actually didn't like this movie for the first 45 minutes, but I like it as a whole, so I'll show you how that came to be.
Explanation is coming.
I didn't like the fact that in the first Iron Man, before he got like blown up,
Like you do.
he was a dick.
Yeah.
But apparently in 1999, Tony Stark was like the biggest cock in the worst way.
Very
like,
much so.
Much worse than he was at the beginning of Iron Man. Because he's like they meet, like Guy Pearce comes running in with the cane, doing his best impression of Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma.
Yeah, he's
got the big teeth and the hair. And
he looks like his
for some reason he's that comes in later why he limps, but Downey's with Rebecca Hall and they're in the elevator, and Guy Pearce gives Rebecca Hall 2 business cards, and Stark takes them both and says, "Here's one to throw away and one to not call." That's a dickish thing to say.
Yes, very true.
No wonder Aldrich Killian turns into a douchebag.
No lie.
And on top of that,
his name tag?
Yeah, did you know who I am? Because that's foreshadowing.
Of course.
The thing is not only is he a douche to him in the elevator, but after everybody's left the elevator, he actually stops Guy Pearce and says, "I'll meet you on the roof and we'll talk," having no intention of meeting Guy Pearce on the roof. And he leaves him out there. It's like, I don't remember Stark being that much of a dick before.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't know anything that would have happened between 1999 and 2008. But
it's a nice span of time, though.
Yeah, I guess. And I guess we'll go into... I didn't like the fact that everybody's complaint is this one has too much comedy in it. Which... that's what the Marvel movies do.
Yeah.
Like, let's paraphrase Stark from the first Iron Man. Shane Black is doing this one, who did Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He like wrote Lethal Weapon and all that. As far as the comedy's concerned, that's how Favreau did it. That's how Whedon did it, and it's worked out pretty well so far.
Very true. So,
I guess we're gonna do that. But the problem is it's like down. Not so much the. They're really trying to play on the. I hate, as much as I really hate to say it, Downey's sarcastic douchebag shtick thing is like really, really run its course lately. But that, like with the Iron Man movies and the Avengers on top of Sherlock Holmes and just his real life persona in general.
Oh yeah.
And it's like he's just like, literally everything that comes out of his mouth is like he's trying to throw something funny at the wall to see if it sticks or not. And that, like, the obvious, I think this was a reference that not many people were going to notice, but when he's at the table at that bar with Don Cheadle, and that kid comes up to get his autograph, and the kid is a really short kid, and he's blonde, he's got the glasses.
That was funny.
And Downey says, "I loved you in A Christmas Story, by the way." Little do we realize that that might also be a reference to Jon Favreau's buddy, Peter Billingsley, who was the kid in A Christmas Story, and he's also the scientist in the first Iron Man that Bridges yells at and says, Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a box of scraps. That was him. Under bald makeup.
Very nice.
Do you want to go into Kingsley now?
Well, oh, of course.
Well, okay, let me just... Okay. Kingsley's character is really badass, which really concerned people when he was cast, because the last 2 times Kingsley has played a bad guy, it was in Thunderbirds and Blood Rain.
Thunderbirds.
I was thinking, obviously, what most people were thinking was, maybe we'll get a little less... This movie looked really dark in the trailer, so maybe we'd get a little less Thunderbirds and Blood Rain and a little more Don Logan from Sexy Beast. And he's actually really vicious.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he has the, it's your normal cheesy villain stuff, but I actually loved his little monologues, like, when he's, like, cracking the fortune cookies, and he says, he's talking about how fortune cookies are actually American and they're not Chinese, and he's like, you know they're American, because they're hollow, they're filled with lies, and they leave a bad taste in your mouth.
He reminds me of Muhammad Hassan doing a Nixon impersonation.
Yeah, that's another thing about the Marvel DC battle, is Dark Knight fans were all over this movie for no reason.
Yep.
When the first trailer came out, and the Mandarin says, "You'll never see me coming," everybody tried to say that was a ripoff of Heath Ledger's "Here We Go" line.
That's the way the cookie crumbles.
Now you're doing Jim Carrey as Walter Cronkite.
Yes.
In Bruce Almighty.
Indeed.
Well, the thing is everybody, ever since, obviously The Dark Knight is a beloved movie, but everybody seems to think that everything wants to rip off The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Like, I can kind of see that. Then when he interrogated Mickey Rourke in Iron Man 2, that was pretty similar.
Yeah.
When Mickey Rourke's doing the there's going to be blood in the water thing. But not every movie is trying to be The Dark Knight like people seem to think so.
Very true.
It's just... yeah, that's just the way it is. There was also a dude in our theater. The theater was actually pretty full last night.
For 9:50, wasn't bad.
There was one dude that laughed, and I think he was the only dude that caught it. But there's a scene where Tony is fighting this girl in the middle of the movie. And he goes outside, and there's a dude hiding behind his car. And Tony's just like seeing if he's okay. The dude hiding behind the car is Joss Whedon.
Yeah, it is.
Without his beard, so I didn't recognize him at first, but when that dude laughed, it kind of made it register in my head.
Fanboy alert.
Yeah, apparently he was the only one. I want to go into the supporting cast because there's all kinds of people here that not a lot of people know that are awesome. Like James Batchdale, who was he apparently came right off the set of Flight because he still doesn't have his hair back. He was a cancer patient in Flight that talks to Denzel in the stairwell. But I'm not going to issue a spoiler alert because everybody in the world's already seen this movie. He's the guy that kills DiCaprio in The Departed.
Yeah.
And he's Guy Pearce's bodyguard. And he's like the T-1000.
Yeah, he really is.
He's got the, they demonstrated it with a plant at the beginning where it can reconstruct itself. And you see James Batchdale in an explosion, and he literally comes walking out, and he just reforms. But that confused me, because all the villains do that.
Yeah.
Were you by any chance wondering why, what do you have to do to kill them?
It's like the Curse of the Mummy. That's what it was reminding me of.
I don't understand how you kill them, though, because, they'll be in explosions, and then they'll come back out, like the Terminator comes out of the exploding semi-truck.
Yeah, pretty much.
But then, sometimes you shoot them and they blow up and they die.
Yeah.
But they never... Did they explain why? How?
No. I never got that at all.
How they can sometimes come back and sometimes they can't.
Well, I know they have power to, destroy bones. I mean, I noticed that, too, and, crush you, and...
By the way, did they ever go... I don't remember this. They might have. Did they ever go into the fact that, apparently the whole reason Aldrich Killian was crippled at the beginning was he's probably running on that now?
They hinted at it, but they really didn't go full into it.
Like,
I think it's one of those, you should probably know this, but...
Guy Pearce had a lot of exposition in his first scene. It might have been in there somewhere.
Yeah.
They were when they were inside his brain and shit.
There was a lot to follow around in anything Guy Pearce did in the first half of the movie.
Oh yeah, we gotta mention that. There was a rumor when the movie was in post-production that Guy Pearce only had a cameo.
Yep.
That is not true.
No.
Guy Pearce has a lot of screen time. And he's very important.
He's got Siegfried hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I'm just gonna throw this out there. He looked like Edward Nygma at the beginning.
Yes.
His name is fucking Aldrich Killian. No. He does not have a sinister agenda at all.
Very nice.
And he's played by Guy Pearce.
Yes.
You look at
beautiful umbrella pattern.
Yes, and the Hurt Locker. You look at Lawless, and there's another movie where he plays a really bad guy. He's actually not a very trustworthy guy in Memento when you learn the twist.
True.
So unless it's LA Confidential, if you see Guy Pearce in a suit, it's not very good news.
No.
Also, with the beginning where he looks like Edward Nygma, he loves distorting himself lately. Because when he was Charlie Rakes in Lawless, he shaved his eyebrows and had the Jack Nicholson hairline. In Prometheus, he's completely covered in the old man makeup, which was just weird. Because why did they cast him to begin with? He's in the makeup in the road. Remember his scene at the very end?
Yeah. We thought we missed his complete screen time. Because the copy of The Road we watched online was actually missing a little bit, and we're like, okay, where's Guy Pearce? Where's Guy Pearce?
Yeah, we missed most of Charlize in that movie, too.
And he legitly shows up right at the very end of the movie. He's like, yeah, there he is.
All right. Going on the supporting cast besides Bad Jail is William Sadler was the president, and he was the villain in Die Hard 2, and he's like, he's Dan's friend Dwight on Roseanne. Here's a douchebag in real life, so that kind of bummed me out because I used to be a huge fan of his, but he pretty much does what he had. I guess he's a convincing president. He didn't really have to do much.
Most presidents don't.
But well, that's a whole other subject.
We're not allowed to talk politics on Pop.
I don't pay attention to politics at all. So
Neither do I.
I could make a quip there, but I don't have any.
Political movies is all I really can talk about. That's all we know.
Well, the vice president. Did you recognize the vice president? That was Miguel Ferrer.
Yeah,
he's
he looked familiar.
He's the main character in the Stephen King movie The Night Flyer, which is really awesome if you can find it.
Never seen it.
And he's the villain in Blank Check.
Yes, he is. He is a villain in Blank Check.
But most importantly, he is George Clooney's cousin, and he's the reason. I believe he's the reason George Clooney has work. I'm pretty sure that wasn't the other way around. I'm pretty sure Miguel Ferrer got George Clooney his first job or something like that.
That's interesting.
I think that was on a Regal slide once.
Of course it was.
And Dale Dickey from Winter's Bone has one scene. She's been in some other movies, but I don't remember what they are.
I hate Winter's
Bone.
Bone.
She was the one in the place that gave him the file that wasn't meant for him.
Of course.
But anyway, a really disappointing thing was Rebecca Hall, because I'm in love with her. She was in The Prestige and Vicky Cristina Barcelona, and I loved her. And there's a movie nobody saw last year called Lay the Favorite. It has her and Bruce Willis in it. She really sucks in this.
The whole movie, I know I'm probably going to look like an idiot for this, and I probably am, but the whole time, I thought Rebecca Hall was Aubrey Plaza. I don't know why, I just did.
Well, Rebecca Hall had a lot more personality than that.
Safety Not Guaranteed is an awesome movie, guys. Check it out.
But I do have to say, I was getting a little worried because for the entire first hour, Don Cheadle was absent. He's in that one scene where they're at the bar with the kids, and then he's just not there at all. But then he comes back in the second hour, and he's doing some kind of comedy relief thing.
Yeah, Iron Patriot.
But then they get him, and he's in his suit. And there's this really awesome scene where they use their the stuff that makes them cyborg-like.
Yeah.
They can also burn shit with. And they're literally trying to burn Rhodes out of his suit. And Rhodes just goes, okay, here we go. And he comes out of the suit and just fights them by himself without the suit. And he kicks all of their asses.
But I believe he gets thrown against a wall, and that was pretty much the end of him.
Well, he wasn't going to win that fight, obviously, because the movie still had an hour left. But
of course.
For being out of his suit with all those guys, he kicked their ass.
See, I have a theory about why Don Cheadle disappears. Okay, when he first disappears, he is finding his agent. And he's still finding his agent, and he's beating the daylights out of him because of Hotel for Dogs. And then he kills said agent, and then he has to bury the body, and that's when he comes back, because he's hiding from the cops.
If Don Cheadle killed his agent for Hotel for Dogs, what did Terrence Howard do to his agent for not being in the new one?
I don't know, man.
I got another verse, man.
I wish Terrence Howard would do the Charlie Pride movie.
There's something I really hated about this movie. I mean, it turned out being okay because of what Downey did with it. But this movie went to the lowest of the low for a superhero movie. And that's bringing in the kid sidekick.
Yeah.
That's a horrible, horrible decision.
Danny Madigan.
Yes.
That's what it came to mind immediately.
Danny Madigan was supposed to die because he was the comedy sidekick.
Yeah.
But the thing is this kid is it's the...
You're going to bring up Real Steel, aren't you?
No, he's not that bad. God. The kid in Real Steel gave me cancer.
Pretty much.
I'm still in remission 2 years later.
That's a wig, folks. It really is.
It's on there really tight, though.
It's Trump style.
I look like James Badge Dale.
Yeah, you do. Very nice. He looks like Chris O'Donnell mixed with Mark Strong in that movie.
But I do love the things that they have Stark do with that. They have he warms up to the kid and all that shit.
He has a point, though.
But the thing is I love the scenes where Stark just doesn't care. when he's getting ready to leave him there, and the kid just like says, "Are you gonna leave me here just like my dad did?" And Stark just, he just thinks about it for a minute and then goes, "Yeah,"
and he pulls away.
That was like, yeah, the Great Downey stuff is still there. It's just he doesn't have to try all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love that he doesn't even say anything, and I laughed so hard. It's when Rebecca Hall comes back after being introduced in the beginning, and he realizes who she is, and he says, "Please don't tell me you have a kid outside that's like 12 years old that I've never met before." And she's like, "No, he's 13." It's a really brief reaction. It's just like a really over-exaggerated flinch. It was just really funny the way it happened.
Yeah.
But then they do the shit they did in the first one where he's doing there's the scene in the Avengers where he puts the bracelet on and then Loki throws him out of the Stark Tower, and with the bracelet he's able to like make the suit come to him.
Yeah.
Well, now he's done, like the separate parts come to him, and they do another scene right out of the first one where they make a big comedy scene out of his malfunctioning equipment.
Yeah.
And that ran its course by the end of the first one, and they're still doing it.
We're two movies after that, and we're still in there.
But there was a really funny payoff to that it's at the end when he's trying to get the suit to come to him, and only like two parts. He has the parts in a shed, and the door of the shed is locked, and only two parts come to him, and he's like, "Where are the rest?" And we get the shot of the shed door, and they're trying to come through the locked door. I thought that was really funny.
It was good.
So, and speaking of funny, I should go ahead and throw this out there. I'm not going to say too much, because I don't want to spoil it, but Ben Kingsley's character is awesome, but there's a twist with his character.
That you'll literally never see coming.
Yeah.
Never see coming.
And I don't know if this is the worst twist of all time or the best twist of all time, but it's one of those two.
I could tell you who he reminds me of, but it would blow the spot, and I don't want to do that.
I wouldn't say anything.
I'm not going to. It's too good.
I still don't know what to think about it.
No one does.
Oh, God. But yeah, then there's, oh, yeah. The whole thing about they wanted to make it feel like a Tom Clancy novel. I didn't really get that.
No.
Like, I guess the Mandarin I could kind of see Jack Ryan going after the Mandarin, but...
Oh, yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah,
like, because, like, they're trying to do that whole thing now, like, they're going to make Captain America 2, like, a political thriller or something. And I didn't really see the Clancy vibe with this, like they were going for. Yeah. I literally saw, like, people are actually saying it feels like a Shane Black movie, as it should. But, I also thought there was something a little, off. Like, I don't know, I suppose it's, I mean, Tony is a selfish character. They, like Jeff Bridges really made that point in the first Iron Man. Like, that's what he was saying when he was, like, taking it out of his chest.
Mm.
But they have this really dramatic scene towards the beginning where he can, that's a major plot point, he can make his suits move now, like, by themselves. Like, just with whatever it is that he has. Like, and he does this weird, there's like a suit waiting for Pepper when she comes home ready to seduce her.
It's hilarious.
And she thinks he's inside of it. But he's just making it move. And then there's that weird horror movie scene where it's like still in his mind while he's having nightmares, and like the suit attacks Pepper while they're sleeping, and it's really brief, but it's really weird when it happens.
Yeah, it's definitely.
But anyway, there's this big dramatic scene where Pepper comes down to the basement and he's talking about how the stuff in the Avengers is like giving him nightmares and he can't sleep. Jarvis actually says he hasn't slept for 72 hours when the movie starts. But he has this big monologue where he's telling Pepper, like, threat is imminent, and everything's going to be destroyed, and I have to protect the one thing that matters to me, and that's you. And he puts Pepper in a shitload of danger throughout the movie.
Yeah, no lie.
He literally, the guy, he comes in a bit of an overreaction. Hogan almost, like, Hogan's in an explosion, and he has to be in the hospital, and he's, like, in a coma. But he's not, like, dying. But Stark gets really pissed off, and he comes out, and he goes all Mel Gibson and Ransom, and he finds the nearest camera, and he calls out the Mandarin and gives him his address. It's like, how are you going to protect Pepper by giving the Mandarin your address?
Here's my address. God knows how many people are helping you.
I mean, I know he was acting out of rage because Tony Stark is pretty impulsive.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's an alcoholic, so he's impulsive.
Indeed.
The very first shot of Iron Man is not of Tony Stark, it's his drink in the first Iron Man.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you see in the trailers, Tony Stark's house blows up, which, by the way, is apparently supposed to set up for him moving into Stark Tower in New York for the Avengers 2.
That's what it sounds like.
And, of course, that's the scene everybody loves, where Gwyneth ends up in the Iron Man suit, which I don't understand either. Like, maybe I missed something in all the exposition, but Tony had to, like, put those things in his arm, and that's, like, how the suit comes to him. I don't know how the suit knew to go to Pepper instead of him. Did they explain that?
No, not at all.
Well, anyway, the suit can go to Pepper too, I guess. Well, I think he...
Tony's a super genius, so he can do anything, basically.
I suppose he can do, like, some programming or something, like when he... when Rhodes wanted one of the suits at the end, and he's like, well, you're not programmed for it. So... The suit with nobody in it has to come and pick Rhodes up and ride off with
That was hilarious, too. We have a suit with nobody in it carrying Rhodes up in the air. He's like, you gotta be kidding me.
Then there's, it's really hard to talk about sometimes because this movie has, like, 5 big twists in it.
Yeah.
Well, the first twist, the other twists are interesting, but obviously the first twist, which I kind of hinted at earlier, is, like, everybody in the theater said no shit.
Yeah.
Like, you could almost... I'm pretty sure somebody in our theater actually said no shit when that...
It's very possible. There were a lot of, like, murmurs throughout the movie, and I noticed that as well.
There was a piercing sound in the audience when that twist was revealed.
Yes.
That was not subtle at all, what I just did.
No, not at all.
The action scenes are really good.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I have to say, though, that, not that... It's a rarity now that 3D makes a difference, and this is one of those movies where, like, I suppose it's because we've seen so many movies in 3D, like, you can't even tell the difference anymore.
Yeah, definitely.
I suppose, I don't know, but the scene, obviously for somebody like me with a fear of heights, that scene where fucking 13 people fall out of Air Force One, and they have to play monkeys in a barrel to save them.
That's crazy.
Yes, I couldn't. Was that some kind of forced innuendo when Stark made the monkeys in a barrel reference, and he tells the passenger, "Quick, grab your monkey."
Yeah.
All right.
Of course it was.
Yeah. Okay. We'll let it go.
It's the comedy that Stark throws in. That's just how it works.
Yeah. Well.
You'll have that.
Another thing I really liked about this movie was I love the personality that Jarvis has now.
Yeah. Paul Bettany definitely shows himself in this one. Yeah, definitely.
I actually read in the first Iron Man when Paul Bettany did his voice work, it only took him 2 hours, and he did not know what movie he was in. Favreau asked him because he and Favreau were in Wimbledon together.
Yeah,
and
I actually like that movie.
Favreau called him in and said, "Hey, you want to do some voice work for my new movie?" And Bettany had no idea what he was doing voice work for.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is, there was kind of a lost opportunity that was kind of funny. I mean, well, I worded that wrong. It would have been funnier if they had, like, I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have been, maybe it would have been, I don't know. But they lost a joke where, Jarvis malfunctions when Tony crashes into, where was it he landed?
Oh, God. Tennessee.
Yeah. And when Jarvis comes back, the last word of the sentence that he says is wrong. Because he says, like, I can't remember the word. Or I can't remember the sentence. But anyway, his sentences are fine until he gets to the last word, and then he says something totally random, like what Michael O'Keefe had in that episode of House.
There's a reference that's lost on me.
But that only happened once. Like, every sentence Jarvis said from then on was fine. Like, maybe Jarvis was joking.
It's possible.
Jarvis has a personality now. Maybe he was joking.
He does.
He's like a really nice Hal.
Yeah.
But I think that might be about it. I was trying to make it subtle that I was looking at notes, but that's not happening.
Hey, we'll take it any way we can get it.
Oh yeah. The villain his plot was to use the Iron Man suits to make an army, because they could be controlled without people in them.
Mm-hmm.
That's awfully close to what Sam Rockwell was doing at the end of Iron Man 2.
Yeah.
With he had like the robots for every military branch.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that felt a little close to comfort, but I do love the fact that I thought Jeff Bridges was a great villain.
Definitely.
He was kind of just there when you look at other superhero villains, but within that movie, he was perfect. And then Rockwell and Rourke were kind of underused. Like, Mickey Rourke's barely in Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I think he may have like 4 scenes, if that.
So I did love that Kingsley is really evil.
Oh yeah.
Like, the
he is Mr. Propaganda.
Yeah. He's got his fucking sunglasses and
he speaks from the side. It looks like a music video.
It's
pretty awesome.
Kingsley using that voice that he has, where you wouldn't really mistake him for a British guy if you didn't know.
It is impending doom when you hear him talk in the movie.
I called him a British guy. He's a fucking sir.
Yes, he was actually knighted.
He actually insisted. Rumor has it he actually insists you call him Sir Ben on set. Like, he'll I guess throw a hissy fit if you don't.
Which, like on Kevin Smith films, you can actually say Ben Sir because Ben Affleck. So
oh, yeah,
it worked in my head. Sorry.
Everybody's talking about. This doesn't really give anything away because everybody's talking about it. But the big question is, how can there be another Iron Man after this movie?
Yeah.
Well, first off, if you watch till the end of the credits, it says Tony Stark will return, so you don't have to worry about that.
It doesn't say Tony Stark will return where. It says Tony Stark will return. It doesn't give us a time or place, so it's kind of left up to the imagination of the viewer.
Yeah, well, you know.
Even though we know what's going to happen, yeah.
But
it's going to make us a lot of money.
Well, we know Downey doesn't want to, apparently by the time he's 50, Downey wants to... I don't know how old Downey is now. But
he's in his 40s, but I didn't check to see exactly how old he was, because you mentioned that a couple days ago.
He said once he's 50. He's like Tarantino with turning 60 and not making movies. When he's 50, he wants to be done with Iron Man. So I would say the Avengers 2 would be his last one.
I say if they either could write him out or they could kill him off. And either one would make people mad, so the lesser of two evils.
Every single superhero movie that comes out now, they build it up that the main hero is going to be killed off, and that never happens.
Like The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes, if The Dark Knight Rises didn't do it, it's never going to happen.
Exactly. And it got damn close, too.
Yes, for a split second I was convinced, but just like a fraction of a second I was convinced.
I guess you could call it Inception, maybe. Again, worked in my head, didn't work in principle.
Yeah, that was
not good.
Well, anyway, I think that about wraps up Iron Man 3. In case you didn't notice, because I said a lot of negative things about it, but
yeah, you did.
I do recommend it a lot.
It's really good.
Yeah, I'd almost say it's on par with the first one.
It utilizes the 3D to the fullest of its capabilities, too. And I really wish we would have been able to see it in the IMAX 3D format, but I have a feeling that probably would have literally blew our minds. So, probably not a good thing.
Well, so yeah, I may have, nitpicked some things, but it should seriously be seen.
Oh, definitely.
Because it's
not like there's anything else on right now, guys. You have already seen everything by now.
It's
go watch it.
it's quite thrilling, and even though there's a lot of comedy that doesn't work, there's a lot of comedy that does too.
Very true.
And yeah, my least favorite thing about the whole movie was Rebecca Hall's performance.
Oh man.
There's actually a particular point where, without saying anything, her performance gets progressively worse as the movie goes.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm a big enough fan of hers that perhaps this is just a little spot in her filmography, and she will continue to do great things. She's on like a miniseries now that's for BBC or something.
Like you do.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny you mentioned BBC with the
And
Downton Abbey thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That made me laugh.
Yeah, we learned that Hogan loves Downton Abbey, which makes me the absolute opposite of happy Hogan.
Even when he's coming out of, if he was in a coma, I don't want to give anything away. He
You already said it. He comes out of the coma.
Even when he comes, I know. Even when he comes out of the coma, he's still, the first thing he does isn't to talk. It isn't to like do anything. He's like, ugh, and he points at the screen and he's watching Downton Abbey. It's priceless.
All right. So, yes, despite the nitpicks, Iron Man 3 is totally, absolutely, go to it.
Definitely.
All right. I'm going to issue something right now. The next movie is The Place Beyond the Pines, which came out over a month ago, but we just now got it around here because it was a limited release. And I waited for over a year for this movie because it was supposed to come out last year. It's Gosling reuniting with Derek Cianfrance, who did Blue Valentine. Mm-hmm. And Bradley Cooper, and it's like this big, epic, generational thing where Gosling's to put it bluntly, Gosling's the criminal, Bradley Cooper's the cop. That's all I knew going in. And I'm going to say now, this might sound like a weird comparison, but hear me out. The Place Beyond the Pines is this year's The Cabin in the Woods. And by that, I mean everybody told everybody to not read reviews for Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Because Cabin in the Woods is a movie that you can't review or talk about without spoiling it.
I love spoiling movies at work, and I couldn't do it for that movie at all.
Place Beyond the Pines is another one of those movies where I can't really say anything without spoiling it. So, if you don't want anything spoiled for The Place Beyond the Pines, you gotta leave now.
You come back for the other two reviews, obviously, but you can leave for a little bit.
I'm warning you now. To give you a plot synopsis, I have to spoil it.
Yeah, very much
There's
so.
no way around it.
Nope.
Because if I try to go around it, I'm going to accidentally give it away at some point.
And we got a funny little story that goes in with this, too.
There's two major plot points that I have to give away. I won't say the ending. I'll give you that. But there's two major plot points I have to tell you just to tell you what it's about. And to explain things about why it's good and why it's not. I'm going to assume everybody that doesn't want it spoiled has left, so here it comes. The story is split up into 3 parts, and it starts in 1995. And I only know this because later on down the road it says 15 years later, and we see somebody on a camera in an interrogation room, and that says 2012. They didn't specify that this beginning was in 1995, so unlike Owen, you have to be good at math to figure out that it's 1995. Gosling is a motorcycle stunt rider, and he's in like one of those globes that you see at the circus and shit. And at one of these shows, he runs into Eva Mendes, who had his child like a year or so ago, and he didn't know about it. So now he wants to take care of the child. So he goes and he meets Ben Mendelsohn, who is in a lot of things, but to those who don't know, he was Daggett in The Dark Knight Rises. He's a great Australian actor. He was Jemima Kirk's dad on Girls, and he was in Animal Kingdom and Killing Them Softly. Among a lot of Australian movies, like, remember that Western Quigley Down Under from 1990?
Yeah.
He's in that.
Wow. I know anyone was in that movie.
Yeah, he actually has a kind of a substantial part too.
Huh.
But anyway, he plays a mechanic. He was Dagon in The Dark Knight Rises. In this movie, he plays a guy named Robin.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Gosling falls in line with him, and they become like best friends and all that. And Mendelsohn tells him that if he's gonna care for that kid, he needs to start robbing banks like he used to do. So they have these elaborate things where, like, Gosling commits bank robbery. These scenes happen all in one take, too. Because Gosling will rob a bank, then he'll get on his bike. There'll be this giant chase scene that's, like, really frenetic. And then he pulls up in a U-Haul and they drive off with him. Which, apparently, according to interviews, is something Ryan Gosling's always wanted to do in real life.
It's like a dream come true to do this movie.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so he steals a shitload of money from these banks, and he buys the kid a bunch of stuff, but Eva Mendes already has a guy in her life, and they clash, and all that. So Gosling gets a little reckless. And one day, he tells Ben Mendelsohn, I'm going to rob 2 banks in one day. I'm going to go to this bank, and I'm going to go right over to this bank before we do the escape. To which Mendelsohn thinks is insane, but Gosling has just gotten out of jail because he hit Eva Mendes' man in the face with a wrench.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is at the 50-minute mark. The movie is 2 hours and 20 minutes. 50 minutes in, Gosling leaves the bank, and Bradley Cooper is the cop that's chasing him. This is the first time we see Bradley Cooper. And Gosling wipes out on the bike, so he runs into just the first house that's there.
Yeah.
He runs into these people's houses and runs upstairs, all the way up, and he has his gun out, and he calls Eva Mendes to just, do his Jason Statham at the end of Crank thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he's sitting in the window. We are at the 50-minute mark in a 2 hour and 20-minute movie. Bradley Cooper runs into the room. Gosling shoots Bradley Cooper in the knee. Bradley Cooper shoots Ryan Gosling, hits him in the chest, and Gosling falls out the window and dies. Let me clarify this. Gosling is fucking dead. If Cooper ran in and shot Gosling, Gosling would be dead. Cooper ran in, shot Gosling. Gosling fell out of the window. We see his head busted on the sidewalk. His legs are contorted underneath him. He's fucking dead.
He's finished.
And it's not a fractured timeline. It's not like Vincent Vega in Pulp Fiction. And we don't see him again in flashbacks. 50 minutes in, Gosling dies and does not come back.
Nope, not at all.
The movie moves on without him. So, but the thing is that pissed off a lot of people.
And some people actually left the theater.
He was Gosling's Janet Leigh in Psycho.
Yeah.
He actually put it that way in a Q&A. But the thing is Gosling's death happens so the rest of the story can happen. Because the second segment is Bradley Cooper has a kid also. And of course, he gets involved. This is actually more of an analysis. I'm pretty much giving away everything until like the last scene, and then I'm not going to give away the very end. So if you want to... Well, the people who didn't want to spoil are gone, so... Hopefully. So the second story is Cooper's dealing with the guilt because he didn't really mean to just off Gosling like that.
No, not at all.
And then he learns about Eva Mendes and about how they had a child, and Eva Mendes gets pregnant again. And then, so what happens is he falls in with Ray Liotta, who, of course, is a corrupt cop.
He has to be.
Yes. So anyway, Ray Liotta pulls Alonzo Harris, and they go back to Eva Mendes' house where Gosling was storing the money that he stole from the banks, and Liotta says they're going to, confiscate it. But of course they go up there and they find it and they take it, but they say they didn't find it, so they can split it amongst themselves, like they did in Training Day in Scott Glenn's house.
Indeed.
No, it wasn't Scott Glenn's house, but that was before. But I haven't seen Training Day in a while. I'm going to leave that reference.
I know they split the money, so I know that much.
But of course they give most of the money to Bradley Cooper because he offed Gosling. But Cooper feels guilty, so he tries to track down Eva Mendes and give her the money, and much like Gosling did to Carey Mulligan in Drive, oddly enough.
Yeah.
He says, "You take the money," and she's all, "Fuck off," and she starts crying, and because she knows he's the one that killed him, because it was in the papers. His picture's plastered there next to Gosling's. And they're calling him a hero, of course, because he got shot. So that goes that way, and of course, you know, there's this subplot with Bruce Greenwood as the DA, I think he is.
Yeah.
And he's corrupt, too. He's the one that says, like, Cooper's the one saying, I need to turn this money in, and I need to, you know, get Ray Liotta and all of them caught, and Bruce Greenwood's all, you know, what the fuck are you doing? This is not what we do. You need to get that out of here. And of course, he blackmails Bruce Greenwood with a tape recorder, which is a pretty interesting, the way that scene played out. So that's taken care of, but then there's the third segment where, and I thought this was off, because I thought this is where we kind of lost the movie a little bit. The movie just randomly jumps ahead 15 years, just like that.
Yeah.
And Bradley Cooper's son is older now. He's 16 or 17.
Yeah, I think it's 17, actually.
And he goes to high school. Now, here's the other... I'm pretty sure it's pretty obvious if you're paying attention, but I think it's supposed to be a twist, but he falls in with Dane DeHaan, who was the kid in Chronicle and Lawless. And he's also playing Harry Osborn in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Bradley Cooper's son meets Dane DeHaan in high school, and they form a friendship. Of course, Dane DeHaan is Ryan Gosling's kid, growing up now. And all hell breaks loose when they become best friends, and Dane DeHaan learns that one of their dads killed the other. And I'll stop there, which pretty much leaves you about 20 minutes of the movie that you don't already know now.
Very nice.
Okay, now we'll go into what's good and what's not so good. Nothing's bad about the movie at all, but first off, I love the fact that it all felt so improvised. Like, everything felt like... It was like they just totally ditched the dialogue that was in the script, like they didn't Drive again. Where,
it seemed very natural.
Yeah, like...
Not forced.
Like the scene with, where Gosling first goes to Ben Mendelsohn's place, and there's a dog, and there's, like, a tennis ball, but the tennis ball is, like, flat, and Gosling doesn't know it, so he picks it up, and he goes to bounce it, and it just hits the ground. And then he just kind of... Mendelsohn just kind of shrugs it off, and then Gosling picks the ball up and throws it to the dog, and the dog runs after it, and Mendelsohn just kind of casually goes, the dog's not going to find it, she's practically blind. And they just leave it at that. They just go on to what they were talking about. And then there was, just stuff like that. The stuff with the teenagers, that was... I don't know what went wrong there, but the kid that plays... I don't know if it was the kid that plays Cooper's son, or if it was the character, but...
He's an unlikable toolbox.
He's in the wrong place. He should be on some MTV reality show, and he's in this big epic movie about generations.
What about an off-Broadway production of Grease? He's got that vibe going, like he really, really wants to be cool, but he definitely can't be.
He'd be one of the backup dancers.
I didn't say he'd be doing anything important. I said he'd just be there. Yeah, he might be in the crowd.
He's the guy that would audition for Danny Zuko and end up a background guy.
Yeah.
The thing is the movie felt like it could have either been... I suppose it could have worked as 3 separate movies almost, but it actually, if you want to do it that way, this thing could have made a great novel.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You could have put in the things you need to. Like, I went back and read the script after the movie, and there's a whole different plot point that they didn't even put in the movie that I thought was very interesting, which was in the movie, the police just show up during the second robbery, and that's how Gosling gets caught. But in the script, there's this whole other plot point where Mendelsohn like calls it in and rats him out. That may have happened in the movie when I was spacing out, but I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
But
I could be wrong.
There's so much else they could have put in this movie, but I kind of backpedal when I say that because there's a lot they could have taken out too. Because there's this whole, once again we're in the third part, that's where a lot of it went to hell, but
It just collapses.
there's this very pointless segment where Cooper's son says, hey, I'm throwing a party at my house. I need you to go by the pharmacy and get drugs. So there's this whole thing that goes off the beaten path where Dandon has to go into the pharmacy, steal drugs, run away. Then he goes to the party. He meets this random girl and tries to get laid. And that scene finally comes to a point. But the whole lead into that could have just skipped from him saying, hey, I'm having a party at my house. Cut to the party at his house.
Here's the drugs.
Yeah.
15 minutes gone.
And that girl, she never came back, and
No.
he never got laid. She was not there for any reason.
It was just a random makeout session just to put over the fact that we need to kill time.
And there were things where, clearly it's an epic. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes, but it didn't feel epic.
Yeah, not at all.
Like, there were scenes where it really paid off. Like, there's, a lot of people think it's a score, the theme of the movie, but it's actually a song called Snow Angel by Mike Patton. And that song plays when Gosling is, like, riding his bike through the road and shit, down the road.
Yeah.
And then that exact shot comes back towards the end where Dane DeHaan's riding his bike on that same road and the same song is playing. That's, like, really poetic and symbolic. But they didn't have enough moments like that. Like they should have.
True.
Like, it felt like it should have been really moving when it got to the end, but it didn't feel like it totally, completely earned that throughout it.
Well, it's another thing, too, is if you look at the characters in the movie, and I got this immediately, there's no one likable in the movie at all. Everyone has flaws. Everyone is very unlikable in every single way possible.
Well, the thing about Cooper's character, I actually thought, well, first off, this is Bradley Cooper's best performance since he's, like, been acting. Like, I actually think he's a little, I hate the word, but I think people slightly made too big a deal out of him in Silver Linings Playbook. But here, he's on that line through the whole movie where all he wants to do is be honest. Like, he wants to give the money back. He wants to turn in the corrupt cops.
Yeah.
But he's always on that line where you don't know if he's going to be corrupted or not.
I mean, this is a strong character. I mean, he's not like this isn't a romantic comedy. This isn't The Hangover. This is the Bradley Cooper that everybody wants to see, that's a fan of his, that actually knows he can act.
But the thing about you saying there's no likable characters is he never does get corrupted.
No, he doesn't,
But
he
comes
still...
like this close, but he never actually goes over.
Well, no, but he's still not extremely likable. I mean, there's really not much to... There's a lot more unlikable characters than Bradley Cooper without any question. Like you're talking about the third act. But when it boils down to it is the fact that it's just most of the characters are just so corrupt. I know Cooper never goes over that level, but still, he's teetering to the point that he's still unlikable in different ways. Like, of course, when he's running for office down the road. Yeah. When he's running, what was it, Surgeon General? Something like that? What he was running for? He was running for before the Senate.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, but when he was doing his Senate run and everything, he just seemed like he was just doing it all for just the publicity and everything. He wasn't doing it because... The only reason they were even giving him a chance is because he was a hero cop, so... And that somewhat makes him a little bit unlikable, too.
He was also motivated by his dad.
Well, that's
That was
true.
a big thing. That also falls into the generational thing.
Yeah, very
I'll
true.
Go back to that. I need to talk about Eva Mendes for a second. There's some points in this movie where she's really good, and there's some moments not so much. Like the beginning stuff with Gosling, she's like really great, like just totally believable. Which I'm sure it's not hard for her to have chemistry with Gosling if you know their real life.
Yeah, no lie.
But then there's this. But in the second and third part, she gets really, really soap opera-y.
Yeah.
Like
Very whiny, very Telemundo.
the scene where she's where Cooper tries to give her the money back, it's really awkward because she's like facing Cooper this way, and he's trying to give her the money back, and she's like, fuck off, and she turns away, and immediately as she turns away, she goes into this weird weeping that just came from out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's very over the top. It's very over the top.
But the first half of her is like, of course, in the first half she's like the woman two guys are fighting over, and then in the second half she's like the nagging mother. So I suppose,
her attire definitely changes throughout the film too.
But the thing is I suppose that's the way the character developed, but I didn't think her performance was able to keep up with it. Because it just got pretty bad in some parts towards the second and third part.
We don't really know much about Kofi, I believe is his name.
Yeah.
We don't really know much about Kofi either. We don't know exactly where he came from. We don't know how long they've been together. We don't know any of that information.
The thing is he's actually...
And Rose Byrne comes in, and they're gone. She wasn't even mentioned.
Yeah, I forgot she was in it.
Yeah, they had a relationship, obviously, her and Bradley Cooper, and when they do the 15 years later, they're divorced.
Okay.
And this just happened 15 years later, and we don't really know exactly why or how, and we don't know who this guy is that's now in Eva Mendez's life.
Well, I think we're supposed to assume he and Rose Byrne got divorced because... like she was saying how he neglected the kid all those years.
Yeah.
He was also neglecting her because he was running for office and all that shit.
Because the kid wanted to live with him, and he was like, no, I have to worry about running for Senate, so this isn't going to work.
But he let the kid
But he let him live with him anyway.
And that's what leads to, what happens at the end.
What we're not talking about.
But I think Kofi's a generally nice guy. Cause
he is. I agree.
There's that scene where he and Dane DeHaan go out for ice cream, and
yeah.
DeHaan wants to know about he wants to know about Gosling. And Kofi's response is to do a Darth Vader impression. Say, like, I am your father. All that. And then, which, by the way, is kind of funny when you think about it.
Yeah.
Dane DeHaan says, after Kofi has done the Darth Vader impression, Dane DeHaan says, what was my dad's first name? And Gosling's first name is Luke.
His name is Luke. Handsome Luke and the heartthrobs.
But they did do that. They did do that good, though, because it was, he says the line, what was my dad's name? And then we immediately cut to him Googling Luke Land.
well, the funny thing is we talk about the first act of the movie where he's doing the Ball of Death, and it's funny because he just totally just bombs out. He just gives up 100%. He's like, I'm not going to the next town with you guys. I'm not going to continue to follow the circus. I'm done. I want to know what the other heartthrobs thought about Luke abandoning them. Because you can't do that act with another person. And they probably killed many, many stunt drivers in the process of trying to get it to work out.
Well, if you want to call what happened to him karma, go right ahead.
I call a lot of things karma, but I don't think that's it.
That about covers that, really. This wasn't... I mean, there were times where it was the movie I wanted it to be, but there were also a lot of times where it wasn't. It's
like you waited a year for a movie, and you're really, really wanting to see this movie. Like, I know another movie that you've got, it's another Gosling movie, Only God Forgives. I believe it's starting at, Cannes? Or Sundance?
Cannes, yeah.
Yeah. So Cannes basically is opening with Only God Forgives? No, Gatsby. I'm tired.
Only God Forgives is in June.
Yeah. Only God Forgives is going...
July.
Yeah, it's on the Cannes list. And I know it's a movie you waited a long time for. And I know The Place Beyond the Pines was another movie you waited a long time for. Like I said, I know it seems like there's a lot of nitpicks, but you seem to enjoy it a lot more than the movie I waited an entire year for, which is The Incredible Burt Wonderstone, which failed in every single way possible.
Yeah.
Sadly.
But
so now you've seen these coming out May 31st, and that might be my magic movie of this year.
Yeah. Despite the fact that you pretty much know every major plot point now, you should still see The Place Beyond the Pines, because... it doesn't always reach those moments, but when it reaches those epic moments, it's worth it.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody's great, except, the kid that played Cooper's son, and Eva Mendes for a major part. Gosling, the thing about Gosling is, everybody's, ever since Drive came out, everybody's all, he just stands there and doesn't say anything. There is, an internal thing that Gosling's got going on that's,
Gosling's
really,
a brilliant actor.
Gosling's got a really intensity inside him, There's a reason people keep referring to him as a reincarnated Brando.
I can definitely see it 100%.
Like,
Blue Valentine worked that way for me.
Derek Cianfrance was telling a story about, he and Gosling were talking about the character, and Gosling said, I think I should have a face tattoo. And Cianfrance said, I don't think that's a good idea, but you can do whatever you want. And Gosling got the, he has it in the movie, it's like a small, it's kind of like the teardrop tattoo, only it's a dagger that's dripping blood.
Yeah.
And he kind of had a Ron Burgundy moment. Like, after he got it, it was like, I immediately regret this decision. But he was stuck with it for the rest of the movie. So, the scene where the baby's being christened, with Kofi up there, and Gosling comes in the back and sits in the back, Cianfrance just said, you know, walk into the church and just sit in the back and I'll just film you. And apparently Gosling got so intense with his raggedy clothes and the face tattoo and the blonde hair.
He looked insane in the movie.
Within the christening, Gosling felt so out of place that when he just starts crying in the pew, it's like really happening. Wow. Like
Intensity.
he feeling out of place like that really took him to a place. So people don't like. Of course, I've seen Drive like 30 times now.
Yeah.
So I have a really good sense of what he was going for with the not saying anything. But a lot of people just kind of see it as like a surface thing.
Yeah.
Like, which confuses the shit out of me, because when people go way over the top, people complain that they weren't subtle, and then when people are really subtle, they complain that they don't do enough. Well, once again, it goes back to it's the internet. Nobody's pleased with anything.
No, not at all.
So, yeah. Oh, Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta's awesome. I loved his character, like, when they go into Eva Mendes' house, and it's like, the one line, there's one line that gives you Ray Liotta's character on a silver platter. It's when, I think we're supposed to assume that, well, obviously we're supposed to assume that Eva Mendes' mom is illegal.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah, like this.
He comes into the house, and she says, do you have a warrant? And he says, I'll tell you what, if you pretend I have a warrant, I'll pretend your mother has papers.
Yeah.
It's like, I love.
That just tells you all about Ray Liotta's character right off the top.
Yeah, we gotta get moving on to the next two movies, but I could literally rave about Ray Liotta for like the next half hour. Just in general.
Very true.
But yeah, everybody, with the exception of a couple, are great in it. So when it's on DVD in like a year or two, be sure to look into it, because it's worth the. There's people online saying it's the best movie they've ever seen, but
wow,
some people just like jump to that after they've seen an epic, you know. that happens sometimes, because the ride wears you out so much.
True.
But yeah, let's go on before we're here all day.
Works for me.
This next one's a limited release called Love Is All You Need, which premiered at TIFF last year under the title All You Need Is Love. Of course. I don't know why.
So it's the other line of the Beatles song.
Yeah, I don't know why they switched it, but anyway, I guess they thought it sounded better. But anyway, nobody really knows about it. Brosnan was actually on Kimmel promoting it this week.
Wow.
But anyway, it's a limited release that came out today. And it's basically Brosnan is... he works in like fruits and vegetables. He like sells them. And there's this woman... The movie's actually hardly in English. It's like probably the same as far as percentages, obviously not runtime, because Bastards is long, but as far as percentages, it's probably has less English in it than Bastards did.
So Pierce Brosnan is in essence playing Ed Harris.
He has one Danish line. But anyway, and he said on Kimmel he learned Danish only for that one line. But it's mainly in Danish, Italian, and Spanish, and pretty much whenever Brosnan's around is when they speak English.
It's very broad.
Yeah, but the main character really is the woman, and I don't remember her name, and I don't remember what I've seen her in, but her character is really ironic because she's a cancer patient, and she's missing all of her hair,
Mm-hmm.
and she's a hairdresser. But anyway, it's poetic in an ironic way.
Didn't that come out in a movie, like a recent movie, something like that? Like she didn't want to touch people's hair because her hair looked so bad because she didn't have any hair. Something that came out recently, or something like that. It's not necessarily the hair, but I mean, her job was something, but she couldn't do it because she looked so bad, or something like that.
Oh, Dead Man Down.
Yes.
When
Noomi Rapace, yeah,
worked in the beauty salon.
Mm-hmm.
When we won't even go into that. Dead Man Down's a good movie, but that plot point was weird.
Very strange.
The thing is there's a scene where their lives collide because they're flying out to the same place and they're in the parking garage, and she backs into him.
Okay.
And they're both on their way to a wedding. Of course, it turns out it's his son that's marrying her daughter. So they get to know each other, and he's very, like, he's a widower.
Okay.
Which, by the way, is one of those art imitating life things, because not many people realize that Pierce Brosnan actually had a wife that died in 1991. And so it's kind of like Liam Neeson in The Grey.
Okay.
It's that weird. You know, there's something in there for real because a widower's playing a widower.
It's just messed up to watch that trailer, and I don't like that movie, but it was like
the twist in The Grey negates that, but we won't go into that.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that.
Anyway, he's really distant because he's a widower, and for some reason, despite the fact that she has, by the way, not only does she have cancer, but she walks in on her husband banging. They just keep calling her the girl from accounting. And they're like really doing it when she walks in on them. Like that one shot is why the movie's rated R. But anyway, for some reason she's still really. I guess that's you have that thirst for life when you have cancer. I guess because she's like really bubbly and he's like really distant. So
Jamie Sullivan in A Walk to Remember.
All right.
I know, but for me that's how it works.
There's this pretty good scene where it was also the clip they played on Kimmel was they're both sharing a cab and they're on their way, and Pierce is on the phone and he's like yelling at his employee, and she just comes right out and says, "Why would anyone work for you? You're so awful and stupid." And he just says, "Well, I pay them well." So anyway, they go to the wedding, and it's like they try to make it this comedy with like wacky side characters, but none of the characters are really that memorable. Like, there's what is she? I guess it's his sister-in-law, and she's got, I guess it's a daughter that like hates the world, and they're always walking around together. He's always trying to avoid her because she's always like trying to put the moves on him, and I think I wrote down what other characters there were.
Kat Dennings in the 40-year-old version.
Something like that. But anyway, it's a harmless movie though. Like, it's not painful to sit through, and it's like it comes off as like I didn't find it that romantic, but I can see why how it was striving to be really romantic. And
Okay.
I'm sure it could work for people. Like, there's some legitimate scenes between them where stuff like I did like it was a nice breath of fresh air where. When you get the romantic comedy, this is what's great about foreign romantic comedies, is normally the part in romantic comedies where everybody like gets mad at each other and go their separate ways. Like in this movie, just when you think that part's gonna happen, everybody like laughs it off and the scene goes on.
Nice.
Like, that was really nice to see. So I was actually just anticipating it, but they just moved on. It was nice.
And moving on.
But everything just felt minor. Like, I just watched this movie earlier today, and I'm not going to remember it next week.
You might not remember at the end of the day.
Yeah, when I wake up tomorrow, it'll be gone. Like, I watched Pierce Brosnan on Kimmel recently. Couldn't tell you what he was promoting, but the director is interesting. I haven't seen some of her other movies, but the movies that I know her for, this movie is really weird. This Suzanne Bayer or something like that. I don't know how to say it. I prefer to not say it at all if I can't pronounce it.
That's a good idea.
She did, well, you know Brothers with Toby and Jake Gyllenhaal. That's a remake of a Ford movie. She did the Ford version of Brothers.
Okay.
She did In a Better World, that movie that won the Oscar a couple years ago, which was like one of those type of movies.
Yeah.
And she did Things We Lost in the Fire, which is a really dramatic movie with Benicio del Toro and Halle Berry and David Duchovny. And that movie is like really, really dramatic. Okay. So this movie is like, I don't know, the rest of film filmography may be different, but this movie kind of came out of left field when I only had those movies to associate her with. And she's doing Serena, which is also going to be very dark, the movie with Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence, where Jennifer Lawrence plays Daniel Plainview, basically.
That's going to be very strange to see.
It should be very interesting. They finally got a distributor.
Really?
Magnolia's got it.
Of course it does. That's how it works.
Didn't
Runner's Bone go with Magnolia too?
I don't remember. It's actually really fast paced too. Like it's like an hour 50, but it moves along pretty fast.
That's good.
But it doesn't really like. Movies tend to like, peak before they end. But this movie just kind of stays. It doesn't dive. It just stays where it's at.
Okay.
There is like an emotional peak, I guess, but it's a spoiler. But the people watching this probably won't track this movie down anyway.
You never know. It might happen.
It turns out that despite the fact that he's about to marry the one woman's daughter, Brosnan's son is actually gay. This is like its own subplot at the very end, and of course there's the big emotional scene where Brosnan, they finally cry together. I felt bad because I was like, this should be moving me, but I'm not really invested enough because the whole movie up to it just kind of felt. There's nothing wrong with it. I just wasn't there.
You weren't captivated enough to care.
Yeah, of course I don't expect to be like absolutely taken by a movie, that's just a nice little comedy. But even so, it would have been nice to feel how you're supposed to feel, basically, while you're watching it.
Kind of like how people took Silver Linings Playbook. Like we talk about it again, that everybody thought it was the end-all be-all when it first came out, and it was just basically a normal comedy.
Yeah, and it's like, with that subject matter, like you have a widower, and you have cancer, and you have adultery. The movie doesn't really go into that, like, deeply.
It's true.
It's just, like, there for, like, to explain why the characters are the way they are. But, like, she doesn't have a... Well, her hair actually starts to come back at the end, so I guess she was, like, I don't know.
In remission?
Probably. They didn't. If they mentioned that, I missed it. The subtitles were really off.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Like, I wish I could remember, but there were some... I don't know if this is the way this works in other countries or what, but this could be normal. I don't know, but I doubt it. He was he was talking about his business.
Okay.
And the subtitles were saying peanuts. He was talking about peanuts. When you listen to him, he's talking about radishes.
That's hilarious.
Do those have a connection I don't know about?
I don't think so. You don't rip radishes down and throw them on the ground at Texas Roadhouse or anything.
Yeah.
You could, I guess, but it's probably going to be pretty bad.
I'm sure there's a lot of people that would dig this movie, sure. So if they want to track it down, have at it.
Well, 3 and...
obviously, it's really personal to someone like Brosnan, because it's really... It almost feels like you're eavesdropping on his life. Even though she died so long ago... It's still, like, that's still inside him.
Of course. Well, 3 recommendations so far.
Yeah. Well, that ends now.
Of course it does.
There's a movie that nobody knows about until now. I guarantee this is the first you're hearing about it. It's a limited release that also comes out today, which is why I'm reviewing it. It's called Kiss of the Damned. And it's a vampire movie, and it's written and directed by, I think her name is Zan. It's spelled Xan.
Oh.
Cassavetes. She is...
Is she connected?
She's the daughter of John Cassavetes in General, and then she's the sister of Nick Cassavetes.
Okay, I was wondering. Yeah.
And he's Dietrich in Face Off, as well as the boss in Life.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he's got a lot of work under his belt. But anyway, this is his sister. She plays I don't know why I know this. I happen to know this off the top of my head actually. In Alpha Dog, which Nick Cassavetes wrote and directed.
Yeah.
When they're first kidnapping Anton Yelchin, and that van drives by and it says witness number 1, Zan Cassavetes is the woman driving the van.
That's awesome.
She wrote and directed this movie, and it is a pile of goddamn shit. This is one of the worst movies I've seen in like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
This is... softcore porn is exactly what it is. You will find this movie on Cinemax tomorrow.
It sounds a lot like that, like Demon's Kiss, the stuff like the softcore stuff you get like 2 o'clock in the morning on Cinemax.
You know too much.
I know, it's a DVD that someone left at my house one day, back in the day when I used to live in the apartment. There's a DVD called Demon's Kiss, and it is god-awful, beyond belief. That's what it reminds me of when I heard about this movie. It's also a vampire movie. Of course.
There's this woman. Yeah, Kiss always has to do with vampires.
Of course.
There's this woman. I don't know the actress's name, but it's really long, and I think it's French.
Red flag right off the top.
The beginning of the movie sets a tone. By the way, I don't know where to start with this. Alright. Alright. She's in a video store, and we don't know what she is yet. I mean, of course we do, because we read the plot synopsis on IMDb, but we don't know what she is yet in the movie.
Yeah.
And she runs into... oh, God, his name is a hassle. Milo Ventimiglia. He's on Heroes.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
He's Rick Rape in Gamer.
Yeah,
I always just call him Rick Rape, because his name is a pain in the ass to say.
Yeah, it is.
Well, anyway, they run into each other at a video store. Not like a video store with DVDs, not like a Blockbuster. This is a video store with nothing but shelves of VHSs.
It's like Clerks.
This movie is... I'll get to that.
Okay. Oh, fair enough.
They meet in this video store, and of course, I don't know why, but she's drawn to him. I guess because she's a vampire and she wants to like drink his blood and shit. But she's like really attracted to him. So they go out on this like semi-date for like coffee. This movie's haven't given me a heart attack thinking about it again.
It's gotta be pretty bad.
Alright, so of course she pulls out the other's excuse, even though they were this.
Yeah.
But she says, I have a skin condition and I can't go out in the sun. It's like, of course. But anyway, they do the whole flirting. They might do it, they might not thing. And then there's this really bizarre... This is where, like, this was 5 minutes in and it lost me.
Wow.
He takes her home, and she comes inside, and she locks the door, and she puts the chain on it. And then he comes back. And, of course, normally, like, it's like the scene in Carlito's Way, where Penelope Miller leaves the door open, but she has the chain on it so Pacino can't get in.
Yeah.
But she's giving him a striptease in the reflection of the mirror that he can see through the crack in the door. So he just busts through the door and rips the chain off. Listen to how this scene plays out.
Alright.
The door is open with the crack because the chain's there.
Yeah.
She's on the inside, he's on the outside. And they start viciously making out through the crack in the door.
Dear God.
And this was the weirdest thing I'd ever seen, I think.
It sounds like it.
And then, of course, she bites his lip, and he figured out what she is and all that shit. But anyway, they're doing it straight out of Cinemax, and then mid-coitus, she bites him. And he's won now. So, they're living happily ever after in their dark house at night. But then, her sister comes in and moves in with them. You've seen her sister in a lot of things. I've seen her sister in a lot of things. She's in a lot of foreign movies, like Fat Girl and Sexist Comedy and movies like that. But anyway, she kind of looks like the girl that played George Lopez's daughter on his show.
Is it the older sister in Fat Girl, like the skinny brunette?
Yes.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
she's the sister, and I wanted her to be out of this movie as soon as she came into it. And I'll tell you why. For starters, she's the worst actress of all time. I don't remember her being bad in Fat Girl or sexist comedy or movies like that, but... maybe it's because she has to speak English. Because this is the first time I've ever heard her speak English, and she kind of sounds like Microsoft Sam, if he were... Microsoft Samantha is how I would describe her voice.
Wow.
She sounds like she's being dubbed when she's talking normally.
That's not a good sign.
And she talks a lot.
It's excruciating.
And she's in the whole movie. We have to put up with this for an hour and a half.
I figured it was only about an hour and a half long.
But she's like the villain because I don't know how they survive because they're vampires and vampires feed on blood.
Yeah.
It's never explained how they survive, but they don't want to feed off of humans. But of course, since this sister's kind of working as a villainess, she's bringing in people left and right to drink blood from. Which, by the way, makes the movie totally redundant because there's like a straight hour in the middle of the movie that's just this girl bringing in, like, she brings in a couple when she starts a three-way with them, then she eats them. Then she brings in, like, a guy off the street and she eats him. Then Michael Rappaport, of all people.
What?
Yeah. He played, Rick Rabe. Because Milo.
Yeah.
He plays I don't know, they switch back and forth. He's either a screenwriter or he writes plays, but either way, he's his agent.
Okay.
And they bring him into the house. The sister eats him. It's just a straight hour of the same thing happening over and over again. But the great thing... Hold on, listen to this.
All right.
This is I wrote down the whole quote so I can remember it. Okay, so...
I'm waiting for this.
So she's having a three-way with this couple on the couch with intent to eat them. Bite. I keep saying eat. It's just bite.
Just bite them?
But anyway...
It's not the succubus in VHS.
Yeah. Oh, God. But anyway, oh, God. You made me think of that scene in VHS and my mind just went away.
That's what it did with me, too.
Alright. Oh, yeah. She's got this couple on the couch and they're about to have a three-way.
Yeah.
But then, the couple comes in and they're like, get out of here, you don't do this. And so we see this couple get stranded in the middle of nowhere because I guess they got they got a ride from her. That's mentioned. So they have to walk home in complete darkness. And this is what hold on, I gotta read this straight from it.
This sounds like the Bang Bus into videos.
There's a lot of porn references from you in this.
Sorry!
Okay, so, this is a serious line, too. They're walking down the street, and she's starting to panic because they're lost in the woods. This is what the guy says.
Okay.
In defense of himself. All we did was get into someone's car and drive an hour and a half outside the city. It's not like we did anything wrong.
Clearly, that's something wrong.
And then she kills them.
She just wanted a bite.
Oh my God. Anyway,
it just hurts thinking about it.
but then, back to Rappaport. His character's really annoying because he's one of those Hollywood agents that's like addicted to cocaine. And in case you didn't know that, we never ever see him snort cocaine. But every 5 seconds, sometimes in the middle of sentences, he will just sniff. And this happens his whole screen time. He's got the fucking thing in his ear when he's constantly on the phone.
The Bluetooth?
Because he's an agent. But that's what bothered me was, this, I don't know, it's kind of like Stoker. I don't know what era this movie's in. Because you got Rappaport on his modern technology. Like, he's saying, like, you're not answering my calls or my texts. I don't know where you are, man. But then the rest of the movie is, I don't know where it's, because going back to earlier, they were in a VHS store. And it's like they're, like, the inside of their house looks all Victorian almost. It's weird. I don't know when they are.
Like the video store in I Am Legend.
Yeah, I guess. And then there was, this one didn't have mannequins in it. Then
They were in the back.
There's this prolonged scene that happens for no goddamn reason, where they go to this party, like, and there's, like, they just mingle with these people.
Okay.
And that's all that happens. And this scene's like 5 or 10 minutes long. It's like it's just, they needed to pad the runtime. Like they finally said, well, just bringing people in and out of the house and biting them starting to get a little redundant. Why don't we, put something in the middle? So they had them go to I guess they're trying to be normal because they're not normal.
It's like Dark Shadows.
Yeah, kind of like that. Yeah. But that just put 5 to 10 minutes into the movie that shouldn't have been there. That could have been 5 to 10 minutes sooner. The movie would have ended if it wasn't there. That's about it. Yeah. Another thing that people are going to hate is that Milo Ventimiglia is channeling Wes Bentley through this whole movie. He's even got his beard from the Hunger Games.
Nice.
It's just like, he's got the same blank expressions, and it's like, we are never going to have American Beauty Wes Bentley ever again. Wes Bentley is just this forever. The beard and the face, and that's it. And that's about it. Basically, if you want to watch porn without getting caught, say you're renting a horror movie called Kiss of the Damned that's got real actors in it, like Michael Rappaport. And
that's about as real as it gets, folks.
What's her name from Magic Mike is in it?
Olivia Munn?
No, her name is Riley. She was barely in Magic Mike.
Riley Pierce?
She was there when Alex Pettifer had his overdose.
I know her name.
Her name is Riley something.
Yeah.
It's hard to pronounce. But anyway,
I know what you're talking about.
She comes in at the end, and guess what? She's only there because they pick her up off the street so they can bring her in the house and bite her, and then she's done.
Sounds fun.
That's about it. So yes, please avoid that at all costs, especially if there's other people in the house. Because people will think you're up to no good and watching things you shouldn't be. Because there's barely any nudity in the movie at all, but there's a shitload of sex.
So it really is like Cinemax.
And they film it with like she literally, the sister screws him in the shower, and they actually do the whole literally steamy seduction thing.
Oh my god.
And they got the music playing, and it's not like your generic porn music, but like you always hear when...
Saxophone. It's Kenny G in the background.
But yeah, just I don't even know where else to go with this. So I think that's finally it. You're definitely gonna have to do that thing again where you put the times of which movie's which. Because
yeah, that was actually AJ's idea, and I'm gonna start doing that from now on. So
if somebody, God forbid, if somebody came to this video just to hear about Kiss of the Damned, they're gonna have a long way to go if they don't know where exactly to go. So I think that's it for this. Next week is Gatsby.
So excited.
Peoples.
Oh dear God!
And an indie British movie that won a lot of awards called Sightseers. I don't really know what it's about, but when I watch it, I'll figure that out. So I think that's that.